Yeah, Erev Tov lekulam. Um, this is our last week for this semester, and as I said, um, I'll give it, I'll give the details about the Matala once again in case anyone missed it for last week. Um, but diving into our Shiur this week, I'd like to start with a very interesting question of someone who decided he's taking a trip abroad for 2 weeks, and he doesn't want to leave his home. He doesn't want to leave his house like just with no one taking care of it. So he gives the keys to his house to a neighbor, and he tells him, if you don't mind, every like few days, just open my house, see that the fridge is still working, the electricity is still up, everything works, so that I don't come back after 2 weeks and like find interesting surprises. So he gives him the key, and he tells him, please don't open for anyone, just for yourself to look and to take care of everything. And the neighbor says, well, fine, no problem. And our friend travels abroad. 4 days later, knocks on the door. He opens the door, and who does he see? A sabal. What's a sabal? Someone who carries things. People who work hard, like if I want to bring a fridge from place to place, delivery mover is like, as a word mover. Okay, so he brings it. So it's a mover. A mover is there, and he says, listen, we have this couch. Your neighbor ordered it like half a year ago. By the way, couches, when you order a couch like that you want it specifically made for you, then it takes approximately half a year. We just ordered a couch in our house like half a year ago, and it came mamash nowish, because like custom made. So he ordered it half a year ago. He's not answering his phone. Do you know what happened? So this is like before WhatsApp. He says, yes, my neighbor is abroad. That's why he didn't answer. So they say, well, what do we do? Can we put the couch in your house until he comes back? He says, no, I don't have room in my living room. They say, well, we're not going to leave it outside. It's going to get ruined. What do we do? We can't bring it back to our store. He says, listen, I'm not meant to open to anyone, but I'll do you a favor, and I'll open the door, and you'll just put it in his living room and leave. But I'm watching carefully, and if anyone touches anything in his house, one wrong move, and I'm calling the cops. They say, sure, no, totally fine. We're just going to put the couch down and leave. He opens the door. They walk in with the couch, carrying the couch. They slowly put it to the floor. They stand up, and they walk out. Nothing happened. And he locks the door. And a few hours later, he hears a knock on the door again. He opens the door. Who is there? Our carrier mover. Our mover. Mover, he says, I'm so sorry. We made a mistake. We gave his couch to someone from the other neighborhood, and we gave that couch to the other person. We're so sorry for the mistake. We're going to take the couch back, and tomorrow we're going to give the couch that he actually ordered. It was totally a mistake on our side. We're really sorry. He says, well, no problem. He opens the door. They come in. They pick up the couch. They leave. No one touches anything. He locks the door, and hakol beseder. All is good. The following day, no knocks on the door. Another day passes, no knocks on the door. Another day passes, no one is knocking on the door. After a week and a half, knocks on the door. Who's there? The neighbor. He says, what are you doing? Who did you open the door for? What? He said, I didn't open the door to anyone. He says, all my wife's jewelry is gone. All the TVs upstairs were gone. Who did you open the door to? He says, no one. Well, besides the couch you delivered, I didn't open to anyone. He said, what couch? Turns out, we're familiar with the Trojan horse? We've heard of it? Turns out that these brilliant robbers, they saw that this neighbor's car wasn't there for a few days. So they understood that he probably traveled abroad. He's not home. So they decided to take a couch, empty couch, like they emptied out all its inner foam, whatever, all the stuff, yeah, and they put a person inside. And our neighbor opened the door for them to let the couch with the person inside he has a few hours to crawl out of the couch, to steal all the jewelry, all the TVs, everything he wants, put it back on the couch. And then after a few hours, they knock on the door, they take him out with all the jewelry and everything. They leave the house, he locks up, and go look for them. So once again, for those who joined us late, we had one neighbor who left abroad. He went and he gave the keys to someone. He flew abroad and he gave the keys to a neighbor to open, to make sure that the apartment is okay, to open the door every few days to see that the fridge is still running and everything, right? Because he's flying for 2 weeks. And the neighbor he hears knocks on his door after a few days. He opens up and it's people who are carrying a couch. They say, this belongs to your neighbor. Can you open his house for us to put it in his house? He says, sure. He opens the house. They put the couch down. He locks up after them. Didn't steal anything. And after they come after a few hours and they say, we made a mistake. It's not the right couch. We have to replace it. We'll give you tomorrow the right couch and we have to take this out. And he lets them take the couch out. And it turns out there was someone inside the couch who stole all the jewelry. They come to Beth Din. And the one who flies abroad, let's call him Reuven, all right, just for the sake of convenience, Reuven and Shimon. So Reuven flies abroad. Reuven says, I gave the keys to Shimon, my neighbor, and I told him don't open the door for anyone. And he opened the door. He should pay me for all the jewelry and everything that was stolen. Now Shimon says, excuse me, I did you a favor. I agreed to take care of your house. I am not paying for that jewelry. These people did something that was totally unexpected. How was I meant to know not to open for them? It's definitely Sugya Mishpatim, it's true. Nechon. So Hadassah, your name, remind me? Hadassah. Hadassah tells us, perhaps this is kashur, perhaps this is related to the idea that we know about in Dinei Mishpatim and specifically Shomrim, right? Did you mention Shomrim? So we have 4 types of Shomrim. When I say Shomrim, I can translate it into guards, like people who are guarding, but I don't think that would be the precise guardians. I like that word, okay, guardians. Let's start talking about each one. So the first one is called Shomer Chinam. I'm sure some of us are like super familiar with this, and we've studied in yeshiva for years, and some of us maybe new, so I'm just going to go bottom up and explain each one. Shomer Chinam. Chinam means for free, he gets no money. Is someone who guards something for me for free. In other words, I say, for example, can you just watch this? I'm just going to go to the bathroom for a second. Just watch it for me, please, okay? I didn't pay you to watch it, right? And you're guarding it for me, right? Now, here's a question. And let's think, those who know the halacha, those who know what the Mishnah says, I prefer you don't answer. Let's use our intuition, those who are not familiar, right? Just intuitively, what morally and intuitively seems right to us in each situation. All right. So I say, can you just watch my phone? I'm going to the bathroom for a second. You watch my phone, and one of the following happens. All right. And give me your opinion. Am I, the one who's guarding, like you, the one who's guarding, responsible and you have to pay me for the phone, or no? First case, the phone got stolen. In other words, I don't know, you were watching it carefully, you put it in your bag, and a pickpocket came, he saw my phone, he stole it, and he left. I come back, where's my phone? Whoops, it's not in my bag. No, it's not in my bag. It got stolen. Does she need to pay me for my phone? Yes or no? Who thinks yes? No one. Who thinks no? Some of us. So what did the rest think? I don't know. Okay, next case. It gets lost. She puts it in her purse, and I don't know if anyone stole it. It just, we can't find it. Maybe someone stole it, maybe not. It got lost. Does she need to pay me? Yes or no? She needed to watch, and she tried. She put it in her purse. She watched. Does she need to pay? I didn't pay her nothing. She's doing me a favor. Yes. Yes. So Hodaya is telling us, it depends if you act as if it's yours and you treat my item as if it's your item or no. So there's this concept in Shomrim, in people who are guardians, called Pshi'ah. Pshi'ah means that you are doing something which is considered like a crime. It's not really criminal, but like you're criminaling, what's the word? Like my item. Come on, help me out here. You're not treating my item. Maybe, I like that. Okay. So, in other words, for example, if Hodaya always keeps her phone, no, I need someone. If Nadav always keeps his phone in his jeans pocket, okay? Like this. And my phone, he decides to suddenly put on his shoulder, all right? And he walks around and suddenly, boom, my phone falls and it breaks. He wasn't treating my item as he treats his item, right? He wasn't respecting the ownership of my item. For him, I'll put it on my shoulder and if whatever happens, happens. If it breaks, he was poshea. He was, what was the word he said? He was negligent towards my item. That's what he said. He was negligent towards my item. And therefore, does he have to pay me or no? Yes. He has to pay me for the item because he was negligent. Now, the other end of the spectrum of how someone treats the item is imkara ones. If something happened that was completely unexpected. In other words, I don't know, someone came and pinpointed him with a gun and said, if you don't give me now, I'll kill you, right? Or if a tornado happened and I don't know, some wind that was totally unexpected, or I'm trying to think if there was like a earthquake, all right? And he put his phone in his pocket, like my phone in his pocket, like he treats his own phone. But an earthquake came and he fell and my phone broke. Does he need to pay me? Obviously not, right? But if it's stolen or if it gets lost, he doesn't need to pay me either. The only situation where a shomer chinam needs to pay is if he was negligent. If he didn't, in other words, when I ask you, can you please put an eye on my phone, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm expecting you to treat it as if it's yours. Not to, I don't know, rent some people with guns to make sure no one takes my phone. But like, do the minimum, right? Don't be negligent. Legit. Next guard is shomer sachar. That is someone who gets paid for keeping my item. In other words, it usually won't be with a phone. But for example, if I have a dog and I say, excuse me, Josh, can you please watch my dog for a week? I'm flying abroad. And I'll pay you, obviously, 100 rands per day, right? By the way, Josh, it's such an honor. I have to say, I have to pause this here. Josh is from South Africa. And he came especially to surprise me. What an awesome surprise. I met him there when I was in Shlichut. So it's such an honor to have you here, Josh. Thank you so much for coming. If I were to ask Josh to guard my dog for a week and I'm flying abroad, right? And I'd pay you 100 rand, which is like a South African coin. I'd pay you 100 rands per day. You are now a shomer sachar. I'm paying you to guard my dog, right? Now, again, intuitively, if Josh decides to be negligent, in other words, to take my dog without a leash and keep it outside his house, and something happens to the dog, does he have to pay me? Of course, right? If the other side of the spectrum, tornado happens and my dog dies, does he have to pay me? No, right? But if it's stolen or if it gets lost, he kept it like he keeps his own dog, but even his own dog can be stolen or can get lost sometimes, right? People's dogs get lost. Does he have to pay me? Yeah. If I pay Josh to guard my dog, I'm expecting him to be extra cautious and also to take responsibility if something bad happens, right? Just like an insurance company, I pay it that if something happens, then they'll pay me back because it's insurance. So a shomer sachar, I'm paying you to take extra responsibility, and if something happens, it's your responsibility, unless it's totally unexpected, like a tornado, or like someone, earthquake, whatever. You follow me so far? Who did I lose? Did I lose anyone? You're with me so far. Okay, perfect. So we have shomer sachar. We have shomer chinam. Sorry, someone who does it for free. He keeps my phone. We have shomer sachar, someone who's taking care of my item when I'm paying him. And the third type of shomer is a shoel. Shoel, this is confusing. He is lending me the item, or I am lending him the item. In other words, if for example, let's say Anaya would tell me, Yedida, can I use your computer for the following hour? I just needed to do some work on your computer. All right? So I give Anaya my computer. I lend it to her. She's borrowing it from me. Again, intuitively, what would be the right thing in each situation? If Anaya would decide to put my computer on one of these chairs, half leaning over, and it falls and breaks, does she have to pay me? Of course. She was negligent. If shomer chinam has to pay, shomer sachar has to pay, negligent, also sure. Okay. The other situation if a tornado comes, earthquake comes, and my computer falls, does Anaya have to pay me? Yes, no? No. It would be your computer would fall the same exact thing. Then no, says Adaya. Anyone think otherwise? Yes, it would have. Okay, that was a wonderful question. Would it have happened if I wouldn't have lent it to her? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Shoel chayav be'onasim. A shoel, he becomes the owner of my item for that hour. And if anything happens to my item and it would have broke, but it happens in your hands because you're the owner now, then you have to supply me back with a computer. I'm willing to lend you my computer only on the condition that it comes back to me the way I gave it to you. Okay, so there is an exception if the Ba'alim imo, if I'm with Anayad working on the computer together, but she's holding it, and then suddenly it breaks, but I'm with you, right? Then the Gemara, then the Mishnah says that you don't have to pay me in that situation. But again, but that's also mita kedarkat mechmat melacha kedarka. We're not going to go into that. But essentially speaking, shoel chayav be'onasim. If you borrowed something, you have to pay, even if it was totally unexpected. And what about if it gets lost or stolen? Well, of course, right? If something totally unexpected happens, then of course, if it was borrowed, if it was lost or stolen. I feel like I'm losing you guys. Can you like signal me if you're with me or no? Because like it's difficult. It's difficult concept. Okay, yeah, perfect. It's like it's hard to grasp concept. And the last sort of shomer is suchir. Suchir, someone who is renting. In other words, if suchir, like someone who's renting, right? So if, for example, Shiloh would tell me, listen, I need a car for the following week. Do you mind giving me your car? This is my car. I'm giving it to you, and you're going to pay me 1,000 shekel for the month, right? You're going to pay me 1,000 shekel for the month to rent my car, right? So again, I own the car. I'm giving it to Shiloh for a month, and he is paying me 1,000 shekel for that month. So this is business, right? I'm not doing you a favor. You're not doing me a favor. We're helping out each other. I want the money. I don't need the car for the month. You want the car. You need the money, but you want to give it to me. You rather have the car than the money, right? Then we're doing business. Okay. So Shiloh takes my car, and he decides to leave it unlocked in some, the word not sleazy. What's it like in Fukupak neighborhood? Sketchy. In some sketchy neighborhood. And he wakes up the following morning, and the car is not there. Does he need to pay me? Sorry, okay. Does he? I'm from Yerucham in Yeshiva, so we know the joke in Yerucham. I don't know if I'm recorded. The joke in Yerucham was that someone asked like one of the people who lives there. He says, what's your relationship with the Bedouins around? He says, what's the relationship? We buy the cars, they drive them. Okay, sorry. Back on topic. So if Shiloh leaves the car in a sketchy neighborhood unlocked and it gets stolen or whatever happens to it, then of course he needs to pay because he was negligent, right? Of course. Okay. If a tornado comes and hits my car while it's in Shiloh's ownership, whatever, in his hand, does he need to pay me? Yes. Here's where it gets a little confusing. Does he need to pay me? Intuitively, who thinks no? Why not? Okay, so no, you're right, Ariella, but imagine lab conditions, we don't have insurance. You're right. We don't have insurance. I know. Always have insurance on your car. Thank you. Life lesson number 1. Sorry? Yeah. Depends what insurance you buy. No, it's true that sometimes these insurance companies find a way to like tell you, listen, it's not our fault, like you should have whatever. Right. Yes, sorry, we were with you, Anaya. Right. In other words, we're doing business. He didn't intentionally do anything bad. Something happened. It's called onasim, right? Ones. I couldn't have expected. Something bad happened. Why should he pay? Okay. So Leonie, right, is saying maybe we should split. Half. Interesting. Okay. More opinions, more ideas, then why? Right. All right. So Eliezer is saying, since he is using, Shiloh is using my car for the month, right? And he's treating it as if it was his car, something unexpected happened, then why should he pay me? Right? Yeah. Oh, you say. Ah, okay. So I didn't catch on that nuance. Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. And me, who owns the car, because I'm getting compensation, because I'm getting paid for that month, then it's as if I'm the one who's using the car. I don't. He doesn't have any more responsibility than me. If there's something bad happens to the car, it's in my responsibility, and therefore I should be the one who's losing. Half, three quarters, seven, eight. Oh, and of course, and of course, he needs to keep the car as if it was his, right? Like as if the same way that I keep my own car, right? Okay, so wait, so Amit, right? Amit is saying, but hang on, why would I do such sort of a deal like letting go my responsibility for 1,000 shekel a month? Like my car's worth much more, right? Hmm. Mhm. Right. We have this sort of partnership on my car. I own some of it, you own some of it because we're doing business with one another. Okay, interesting. The Mishnah says, Shoel, sorry, Socher Patur. Socher, the person who's renting, is Patur. He does not need to pay for any damage that happened that was completely unexpected. Like a tornado, like what? Right, right. Fair enough. It stems from the same concept. But what about, ugh, this is so complicated. What about if it gets stolen or if it gets lost? So a car is not a good example for getting lost, but some item that can get lost, or okay, maybe, but or if it gets stolen, I guarded it. I locked my car. I kept it as if I keep my own car. But what can I do? It got stolen. Not a tornado, not an earthquake. Car. If my life was dependent on it, I would have slept in my car, right? I didn't treat it as if my life depended on it. It's something that the way I treat my own car, but it got stolen. If it gets stolen or lost, intuitively, again, he's renting my car. He's paying me rent for the car, and it gets stolen or it gets lost. Does he need to pay or no? Yes, Anay. How come? Don't know. Okay. Look, we're not the first people grappling on this question because our sages dispute this very same question. Some say that he is like a shomer chinam. All right, that a person who's renting is like a shomer chinam. If we can remember, if we can recall, shomer chinam, he is chayav only if he neglects, right? If it's stolen, if it gets lost, or if tornado happens, patu, doesn't have to pay. Other sages say no, he's like a shomer sachal. In other words, if something completely unexpected happened, like an earthquake or whatever, okay, fine, he's patu. But if it gets stolen, if it gets lost, of course, if you were negligent to it, you have to pay. Get different opinion. Wow. I hope I didn't confuse you guys too much. Going back to our story, what should be the case? What should be the halacha? What should be the law? What should the dayanim paskin? Shomer chinam, right? He didn't pay him for guarding the guy. He just said, do me a favor, open the door, right? And this was gneva, right? This was stealing. And therefore, he should be patur, right? However, okay, so Anaya, you're right that in the day and age of WhatsApp, he should have called them. But imagine like it was before. No cell phone. And no WhatsApp. No, open the door every few days just to make sure that the fridge is still on. Yafeh. I don't understand. If he would come back and he'd see the couch like outside, he'd be like, why did, and imagine he did actually like, order a couch, right? He's like, why didn't you open the door for them? Because you told me not to open for anyone. Pff, come on, use your seichel, right? He wouldn't, like, it's a tricky situation. Which one, Ariela? Ariela is saying the neighbor can always complain, any situation. If you ask a neighbor to do a favor for you, then you can be grateful for him for doing a favor. And if something bad happened, you are the one who took the risk by giving him the key. Right? Fair enough. However, Ariela, let me ask, when I ask if you could just watch my phone for a second, I'm going to the bathroom, and she puts it on her shoulder and it falls. I took the response. I asked her to do me, like I asked for a favor, but she was negligent and she still has to pay, even though I asked her to do a favor. Okay, so here's Nachon. Okay, all we did in the past, wow, that was long. All we did in the past 20-something minutes was completely irrelevant. Because he is not a shomer. What is the neighbor guarding? The keys. The keys. He's not guarding the house. If someone breaks into the house, does he say, hey, he broke into my house? I wasn't guarding your house. I was guarding your keys. Why? I know. I'm saying, hang on, right here. Theoretically, if the neighbor would say, listen, I'm traveling abroad, do me a favor, open the house every few days and make sure the fridge is okay. I'll even pay you 100 shekel for that for the 2 weeks, okay? He's paying Shomen Sachar. And robbers come and theoretically, they break into the house. Is he a Shomen Sachar that has to pay the Shecha B'Gneva? No, because he's guarding the keys. He's not guarding the house. No, but he didn't ask him to guard the house. He asked him like, right. No, you're right, but you're all right. No, you're all right. You're all right, but no, I guess those robbers, they saw the car. Like, you're right that theoretically it could help guard the house, but if a neighbor says, can you just do me a favor and every few days just make sure electricity is okay, right? I wouldn't say my job is to guard the house. If I had the responsibility of guarding a house, I wouldn't take 100 shekels for a month. And what? No, here's the key. Don't let anyone come in. Why would you let anyone come in? No. Take the keys. Don't circle the house and make sure no burglars come in every 4 hours. Right. If I were to order security, that's one thing. It just says, listen, don't open the the key is for you to make sure that my fridge works. I don't know. To me, it makes sense. He's guarding the keys. He's not guarding the house. Okay, no, which brings us to a different sugya. No, for example, that would be like a proper guarding. You're right that here it's like a little different because, right, that would be completely guarding. Oh, that would be completely what? Negligent. You're right, but you're right. No, but that brings, Leonid, this is so perfect what you just said, because this brings us to our next sugya. This brings us to what the rabbis say the real question is. And that is a mazik. Mazik is someone who causes damage. And I have to give a hakdama. Help me out. Hakdama. Introduction. Introduction. What was that word? Preface. 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 So I have to preface. I have to give a introduction to this following sugya because it's a little hard for us to like fully grasp in our mind, and that is that every court has its issues. In other words, every judicial system has its issues, and sometimes if you're a judge and you see something and you know it shouldn't be that way, but in marasat, you don't have the means to make this person pay. Like you as the judge, you don't have enough evidence, but you know, like, you know, you should. You don't have enough evidence, or you don't have like enough tools, like kelim mishpatim, like judicial tools. I don't know if that's the right phrase. Like you can't actually make him pay. Sorry, you lost it. So can yeah, fair. That's what I'm aiming for. So our judges, their job is to bring righteous to light. Yeah, like the phrase. Their job is to bring justice to light. What's the translation? Out to light. Fair. To bring the justice out to light. So that's their job. And even if they don't have like the means judicially to do it in the proper, like by the book way, they'll find a way around. All right. But in court, they still have to abide by the law. All right. And why am I saying this? Because this sugya is one of these difficult things where halachically it may seem immoral or may seem not righteous, not right to us, and like it's not justice, but these are the laws. And we trust our judges that when it gets, you know, when they have to face like reality, then they'll make sure to find a different loophole to make a way for justice to come out, right? But we have to open the sugya itself and see. So there's a concept called mazik. Let me quickly open it. And I'm gonna read out the Gemara. Right? This is the Gemara in Baba Kama, Daf Nun Hey Amud Bet. Amar Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Yoshua says, ארבעה דברים העושה אותם פטור מדיני אדם וחייב בדיני שמיים. There are four things, four cases, four prototypes of cases where someone who does this, he is chayav b'dinei shamayim, but patur b'dinei adam. זאת אומרת, it means, b'dinei adam, in our physical judicial system, he is patur, he doesn't need to pay for what he did, but b'dinei shamayim, but morally, spiritually, whatever, like what the right thing to do, the right thing to do is to pay. Sorry? we could say that way, but no, but I, you know, it's like saying, are you willing to wake up every morning, look into the mirror and say, that person I see in the mirror owes 1,000 shekel to his neighbor, and he got his way out of it, but he's not paying. Every day you look at the mirror and you say, I know I have to pay him, but I found my way out of it. You're right. It honestly does depend on how much money. It depends how much you're like you feel bad about it and how much money we're talking about. But theoretically, in other words, Hashem thinks that the right thing to do is to pay. But he gave us laws that by those laws we can't force you to pay. All right, let's put it that way. So there are four things. Hoseotan, the one who does them, patur midin adam, he is patur from our physical judicial court, but chayav b'dinei shamayim, but spiritually, heavenly, he has to pay. Ve'eluen, and these are the following: haporetz gader bifnei behemat chavero, one who breaks open the gate, the gader, like the fence, before his friend's animal. So in other words, if my friend has like a deer, right, and he has sheep in his deer, and he has sheep in his deer, and I break open the gate, so I don't have to pay for the gate because I ruined his gate, right? But then one of the sheep, or a few of his sheep, go out and get lost. Do I have to pay for the sheep? No, 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 no. Patur midinei adam v'chayav b'dinei shamayim. It's grama. It's grama benezikin. Grama benezikin putur. Grama means it's a result, but not complete direct result. So we started that. Remember, it was 2 times ago that the rabbi was late, and I started giving you a shiur, like a short shiur about like what happens if the light turns, whatever. Okay, so I started talking about psik reisha over there. We're not going to talk about that now, but maybe in a future shiur we can discuss that. If one breaks open the gate, then he is patur midin adam. In our in physical judicial court, he does not need to pay. How come? Because it's a grama. It's not a complete direct cause. Rather, it happened as a result of what he did, but not like a direct result. And therefore, he doesn't need to pay midin adam. And the Gemara gives a few more examples. We'll go into them quickly. If let's say there's a fire and I take my friend's shibolin, like the wheat that's growing, bales. One of what you was said, one of them, and I bend them over towards the fire, and then the fire comes and lights those whatevers, right? And then his whole field burns. I know. It's not fair. I know it's not fair. However, for the one that I bent, I directly. It burned his whole field. I directly caused this grain to burn, so I'm chayav on that grain. But the rest of the field, is there a result? I know it's not fair. I know that's not fair. Maybe. Hodaya, maybe. Yeah, maybe. COVID, totally. Right. Even if you did, Hodaya, even if you did. Yeah. Right. They will not put him to death, even if there was a Sanhedrin. Because, even if there was a Sanhedrin today, because Bidei Shamayim chayav, Bidinei Adam patur. Right. No, but even if I purposely made someone sick, I have COVID, I cough on his face on purpose to make him sick. I don't know, but if someone would theoretically do it, then anyone who becomes sick from him, I am not directly responsible for that sickness. Yes. Again. The guards, again, first of all, midinei shamayim, Hashem says this person has to pay. Hashem says, but he doesn't give us the tools to make him pay by force. We can't take police to his house and say, you have to take him. So there are different explanations. You're right, Hadassah. Some people explain it that way. No, so there are some sugyot where we say like it's so severe. But I don't think like burning someone's field. Again, it's a horrible thing to do. And if he's so rich and it's just one of his fields, I don't know. Arson means hatzata. You know how you're asking a good question. Maybe no. First of all, yes, hamavir shu chayav. But you're right that if he only makes this part burn, then why does he have another? Good question. I have to think about that. I don't know. Good question. But this is we're talking about a situation where the fire's already maybe the fire's already there, and I'm doing an action for the fire that's already existing. Then it's different. I don't know. You're right how they have to ask it. I never learned the sugya in depth, so I don't know. Right? If it explodes. For example, good question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question when we consider it grama, and when we consider it the actual thing itself. Right, but again, even if it's it could be it's grama, and they're going to be patu on the rest of things. It's a good question. I don't know. Yes, Anaya? Yeah. Good question. I'm assuming yes. I'm assuming he needs to pay for anything that he purposely burned, but I don't know. I know. It's a good question. Look, this bothers me no less than it bothers you, all right? I don't know. What can we do? This is the halakha that Hashem gave us. And again, we trust our judges that they'll manage to bring right justice into light. Following, okay, we're going to do this quickly because we're losing it. So following quickly. If I pay people to be witnesses, false witnesses for my court. In other words, like someone says, if someone wants to sue me and he's right, then I pay witnesses to come and give a false testimony. And then the judges make me not pay. I didn't directly steal money from my friend. I made the judges make sure that I won't lose money. I know, it's not fine, it's not okay. But on the money aspect, I know it's not okay. But on the yeah, that's what it means. Or yeah. Okay, and the last situation is, and this is the least severe, if you know testimony to your friend and you're just like, I'm just going to sit on my couch and not go. Right? So you know that person broke his car, right? But you say, whatever, I'm not going to take the what? So it's not dam re'echa, right? It's only a car, but still, theoretically, one has to go and give testimony. But if he doesn't, and therefore his friend loses the money from that he's meant to get from the fact that someone broke his car, then he's patur midin adam chabedin shana. Okay, closing up because this is so long. Closing up. This mazik patur midin adam chabedin shana. Right? Going back to our situation. This is what Leone was starting to say. He broke the door, theoretically speaking, for the robbers to come in and for the jewelry to go out. Right? Imagine like the sheep, there's a gate. He breaks the gate, the sheep goes out. He breaks the door, the jewelry flies out. Same situation. And therefore, says Rav Kanievsky, same day. I think Rav Chaim that he is like a mazik, and therefore, what should be the halacha? But this person had no bad intention. So even midinei shamayim is patur. Completely safe, completely free. Sorry? No, because we know that why would Hashem punish you? Because you did something bad. But this person had no bad intention. You're right. We don't know exactly what happens up there. You're right. But we can. You're right. But the rabbis say the same rabbis who decided that he's patur midin adam chabedin shamayim, not decided. They say in this situation we believe that he's even patur midin shamayim because he didn't intend to do anything bad. However, Rav Yitzchak Zilberstein, one of the Gdolim who lives now in Bnei Brak, he paskins that is chayav. How come? Because the very fact that I gave you precise instruction, do not open to anyone, and you opened, you were pushed out. You were mazik, you have to pay. So that's the machloket that we have. Leon is saying if he would have ordered a couch. Right. Then I would be, according to 0%, I would be patur. I wouldn't be negligent. You're right. I know it's weird. What can I say? It's weird. It's a difficult situation. But let's explain the rationale behind that. I think it does make sense. When you are being a nice person to your neighbor and saying, I'm not going to be so stubborn and stick to the words he said. I'm going to take the essence of what he said. Don't open the creepy people. You're taking a risk because he didn't say that. He didn't say don't open to creepy people. He said don't open to anyone. You're taking a risk and say I'm going to be a normal human being who understands the essence behind it. But you're taking a risk. You take a risk, you pay for the risk you take. Okay? So that's the real question. He says money, but I don't know why. I know. But you're still taking a risk, Ariella. You understand what I'm saying? I know any normal person, I would expect you to open for the couch. Honestly, if I were to give you my keys. But you're still taking a risk. No, you wouldn't. Okay. You're right. And they're taking a risk. You're right, but they're still taking a risk. Okay. No, it's true that no good deed goes unpunished. But wait, how's that phrase go? Yeah, no good deed goes unpunished. And here's proof. Okay. As you know, in the shiurim that I give, I often like to start with like something to like boggle our minds, but then move on to something more to our neshama. And we don't have to necessarily, I could find a connection, but we don't have to make it relating. I'd like to share a wonderful Rabbi Nachman story. Rabbi Nachman of Breslev, truly like deep and like it really touched me, and I hope I could like I hope it could find its way into your hearts. Rabbi Nachman says of a king who wakes up in the morning and he tells his Mishneh Lemelech, his vice president, what's it called? Mishneh Lemelech. Vice royal is like a British word. So advisor, maybe advisor is a better word. He tells his advisor. It's an English. My father's like English, so I get right hand man. He tells his right hand man. He tells his advisor. He tells his vice royal. Because you're not British. What can we say? Viceroy. Nachon. Viceroy. Okay. Roy. How do you spell it? No, of course, yeah. R-O-Y. Roy. Wow, never heard that. Okay. So he tells his viceroy, he tells his advisor, I dreamt in the middle of the night that the all the agriculture that will grow in the following year, next year, is rotten. Like it's spiritually rotten. Anyone who eats from it will become crazy. Will become like meshuga. It's crazy. And I don't know what to do because we have enough agriculture that's left from this year that we could put in our closet. We could store for ourselves, for me and you, and we'll eat that and have the rest of the people eat agriculture that makes you crazy. But we don't have enough to save for the whole kingdom, for everyone. So what should we do? Should we eat like everyone, or should we keep ourselves? What should we do? And the viceroy tells him, yeah, but listen, but if we eat this year's agriculture, the normal agriculture, and the whole rest of the kingdom eats the crazy agriculture, it's not a good word. What's the word? Tvua. Agriculture, is that the right word? Crops. That's the word I was looking for. And it sounds silly. I knew. Sorry, what? No. Like tvua. Crops. Okay, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you. So, did you understand? Did you understand what I was saying? Or did you understand anything? Did it make sense like what I was saying, or okay, perfect. So the crops. What was the word you said? Produce. Okay. The produce, the crops next year. Everyone who eats them is going to be crazy, right? So the viceroy tells him, listen, if we eat this year's produce and we let the whole kingdom eat the crazy produce, then we'll be considered crazy in their eye because everyone's going to eat the crazy, right? They're going to be all crazy. They're going to look at us, the normal people, are going to say, who are these crazy people? So that's not a good idea. So the king tells him, okay, here's the plan. We eat our crop. We'll keep it aside for us, our produce, and let the rest of the kingdom eat the crazy produce. And the viceroy tells him, no, but we just said that. That's not a good idea. So he says, you know what? I have an idea. We'll all eat. the crazy crop. We'll all eat the crazy produce. We'll all be crazy. However, right now, right? And what are we going to do? Says Rabbi Nachman, I'll put like a small dot on my forehead, and you put a small dot on your forehead. Every time we look at each other, we'll remember that we're crazy. Sorry? Like Indians, yeah. Like Indians. That's the reason they put, like they know we're all crazy. That's actually very deep, by the way. Okay. So what is Rabbi Nachman trying to teach us? By the way, there's another version of the story. It's censored version. I call it the Haredi version. No, it's like it actually is. And after I thought about this myself, I saw a rabbi, like a big rabbi, who said, "This is the Haredi version. It was censored." I'm like, "Whoa, that's exactly what I thought." Because that version says that the viceroy tells them, "How about we do this? We'll all eat the crazy crops, and then we'll put a sign on our forehead, and we'll know that we're crazy." And then the king says, "What do you mean? Because they're gonna think that we are crazy. We're not gonna eat from the normal crops. Not gonna happen. We're gonna eat our crops and let them eat the crazy crops and let them think we're crazy. Who cares? We're the normal people." Yeah, it's a crazy version. Okay, no, but going back to the original Rabbi Nachman version, what's he trying to teach us? Who has like insights? Who's an idea? Like why Rabbi Nachman is telling us this story? What does he mean to teach us? We're living in a life that's all crazy. And you have to recognize that there's truth inside reality. Beautiful. More. Okay, explain more. You're only able to see what you can only see what you're able to see, and you don't see anything bad. No, you don't. Okay, yeah. You're projecting your insecurities about other people, right? That guy must be like such a whatever. You yourself are kind of like that, right? Beautiful. More, yes. There. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Anyone else wanted to like add their insights? I want to like give you my own ideas, which really connects to what Amit and Hodaya were saying, and tipat what you were saying, Anaya. Um, Rabbi Nachman is telling us, listen, we're living in a world that is absolutely crazy. What is important in life? When you see, imagine like you start working in some like high-tech company, you start working in Microsoft, right? And suddenly the God becomes like the boss of your boss, right? And his boss is like, whoa, beyond God, right? You start like getting into this perception of reality that what's important is like how much money you have or how many ideas you've invented and whatever, and how smart you are. That's what's important in life. And we start living in that perception. But life is honestly crazy. Like life is actually crazy. There's no reason that there should be so much hatred towards Israel, right? Just look at how crazy the world is. How many protests and demonstrations there are about us doing genocide in Gaza when 30,000 Iranians are being killed and no one cares, right? How many kids in America were 14 decide if they're a boy or a girl and do a surgery which is irreversible? Life is crazy. Life is absolutely crazy. And in so many aspects. And says Rabbi Nachman, we have two options, right? Yeah, I'll just give you another example, right? Why is life crazy? I don't have. If I have an American Eagle shirt, right? That tiny eagle, there's no, I don't know why, but there's no, what's it called, not icon, what the logo. There's no logo over here, right? But if I would take an American Eagle shirt, right, which has like its American Eagle logo, and I'd tear off that logo, the price of the shirt would like sink down by like 80%, right? Just that logo, American Eagle, right, or whatever it is. But life is crazy. It doesn't make sense. There's so many Gucci. I told you about Balenciaga, right? I taught you guys that, that sweatshirt for 15,000. Crazy. Okay, but life is crazy. And says Rabbi Nachman, we have two options. Option number one, decide that you're going to be like the Haredi. In other words, we are living reality, true Torah lives. Let them all think we're crazy. Let them look at us and say, who are those guys? They're crazy, but we know we're living true. Option number two, no. Live like everyone. Wear jeans, wear American Eagle shirt, go to university, live life like everyone. But remember, maybe the dots like tefillin, right? I put tefillin on my forehead. I don't know. For girls, it could be whatever. Like remind yourselves, maybe with another person, right? That I am crazy. That life isn't about money, importance of whatever, my grades in university. My professor isn't God. He's just another human being, which I could be much more moral than him. But that but that we're all crazy, and we're living in a life that's what's important in the world we're living in is not actually what's important. What's important is how spiritual you are, how close you are to Hashem, and that you're eating the right crops. And remember that you're not eating the right crops, but we strive to a world where being normal is being normal, and being like your true values matter to you. And even if we can't do that right now in our day and age because life isn't redemption yet, we're not a Geulah yet, just keep that in mind and live life. Yeah, please. Yeah. Right. Good question. You know, in terms of like everyone's crazy. There's a joke where a guy he's driving and his wife calls him like, "Where are you?" He's like, "I'm on Bishesh," you know, at the radio. Yeah, he's like one guy is like thousands of them, right? So Nachon, the Tilumi doesn't live like that, but the Tilumi word does say we're not going to be the Haredim. We're going to live life like everyone else. We're going to wear, like. Of course, it's the biggest struggle. Yeah, yep, yep. Theoretically, I would love to live in a world where Avodat Hashem is the only thing that's important to everyone else. Because I don't believe that that's the right way to live in our day and age. Because I believe in our day and age, the right thing to do is to live life olam hazeh. We need it. Right? There's a machloket. What's going to happen in Atila when Mashiach comes? We still need to work with our crops and like whatever or no. Big debate. But in our day and age, I'm sure that the right thing to do is to live an integrated life. For me, I can't say for you, but for me, integrated life with society, and to remember that this is all crazy. But tachlis, now this actually matters. All right, as a kif, end of semester. I finished on time. Yay. For the final time this semester, I'm going to take your names. Just 1 second.